Welcome to Hashmarks and Working Tools, where football meets the craft and hot takes come properly squared. Hosts Mike McDermott and Joel Cade torch NFL game film, then grab the Masonic working tools to talk strategy, character, and the craft itself.
Welcome back to the Hashmarks and Working Tools, where we hang drywall, hang coverage shells, and overreact to NFL schedule drops like they're playoff games. Today, Joel and I, we're tearing into the 2026 slate for the blue-collar heartbeat of the league, the AFC North. We're going to start in the trenches with our two favorite roller coaster franchises, the Browns and the Steelers. And then we're going to go take a look at the entire AFC North and see how that's shaping up. So welcome to this new episode of Hashmarks and Working Tools. Joel, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
We're doing fantastic. Fantastic.
Long night last night. We had our inspection at our lodge.
Absolutely.
Well, had the Master Mason degree.
I was super impressed with it. Yeah, it was, I was impressed. What would we have? 66?
Something. It was over 60 plus.
Yeah. That was an incredible number, I think.
Yeah. I'm the, for those of you who don't know, I'm the, I was sitting in the senior steward's chair. I'm normally the junior steward, and the senior steward couldn't make it, so I was sitting in the chair. And it was fun. I had my first time to talk in lodge. I got to talk in the room back there and with the candidate. And,
yeah,
it was interesting. I was sitting there, and all the officers, the inspection officers, were sitting on the bench beside me. And I was sitting right there by Bob Zimmerman. What's his Right Worshipful Bob Zimmerman?
Yes.
Right Worshipful Bob Zimmerman. And he would somebody got up and walked out, and he's writing notes. Or somebody's back and he starts talking, and you probably know who I'm talking about, starts talking, commenting on, this is what's going on. He's writing down notes, and I thought, oh, this is fantastic. But yeah, they kept bringing all these people in. It was we probably had to have 30 people sitting outside the lodge. And round one, all the guests, round two. And after about round two, I'm like, where are these people sitting? Because there's no space left. They're going to bring in, and a lot of these guys are hefty guys. So I'm they take up a space and a half to start with.
Yes.
I had nothing to talk in that area, but
you get your own chair though.
I was concerned I'd have to share half my chair with somebody.
Right.
That's where we're at now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it was a good time. Yeah, I think. So I think our new brother is had a great time last night, and I think it was a good evening. It was a lot of people there. I think for a Monday night too. That's
Yeah, it was interesting. Goodstein. He was right after me in the line of people to go through degrees, and he got passed up by 3 people for the Master Mason's degree because we thought that degree was going to get done in January, and then we got that snowstorm, and then our inspection got moved, and then he was like, no, I still want to do the inspection. So he literally had 3 people pass him up in the process, and I don't know. I mean, I love him. And that's some patience, man. I'm not sure I could have done that.
Yeah.
Let's just get me on the next one. I want to be a Master Mason, but he was look, we'll do this inspection thing. So
yeah, he was definitely had tons of patience with that.
Yeah.
So but now it's all done.
He's a good guy, and he's doing that trap shoot coming up in July. I believe it's July.
Yeah.
I don't have. I probably should have the exact dates, but I don't. But anyway, enough of inspection from last night. We should probably bring up some other more masonry later, but let's talk about the schedule since that's supposed to be led with. Don't.
Yeah,
let's not
baby.
Bury the lead. Let's not bury the lead. Let's go for the lead. All right. So let's go over the Steelers schedule. I got
the Steelers schedule first. Okay.
I got to pull that up. I did some research, believe it or not. So.
Yeah.
And you sent me that text on the strength of schedule and how the Steelers have the 30th strength of schedule for the first half of the season.
The first half of the season is I guess cake, but then the second half of the season is terrible for them. It's very, very difficult. So they have one of the most difficult schedules
in the second half.
in the second half. Yeah. Now, the Browns, on the other hand, strength of schedule, they have the easiest schedule of any team in the NFL.
Well, I want to talk about this.
I'm
This is
saying
kind
that
of when
because
I've done some
Vegas
research.
says that. It's not me. It's not me. It's Vegas
Well,
that says that.
this is where you're going to get some. This is how you should think about schedule situation.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Browns in part have one of the weakest schedules in the NFL because the NFC North or the AFC North was weak last year. Usually the Browns walk out there with like the fourth or fifth most difficult schedule on the docket
Mm-hmm.
every single year. So
Yeah.
for the Browns to have a weak schedule is really an oddity. And I think that's important for the AFC North and their downturn last year
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't really a good division.
Mm.
So I want to talk about how schedules get made because
Yeah.
this is really a topic of conversation for Browns fans. Um, and I think the Steelers' schedule is a good example of what kind of happens with schedules and how the NFL views what's going to happen next season, right? So in college football, Ohio State will schedule like
Yeah. They
Alcorn State or something to
Yeah,
start the
they load
season.
load the first part of the season with all of these, easy wins. Yeah, outside of the division. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that's
Yeah.
what I think the NFL does
Mm-hmm.
with some teams that they either
Mm-hmm.
A, think are going to be competitive and want to see them in the playoffs,
Yeah.
or B, they want to be competitive and want to be able to market them at the end of the season.
Yeah.
One year, I mean, it wasn't too long ago, the Ravens opened their season against four teams who were starting rookie quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is ridiculous. They destroyed those four teams to start the gate, and everybody's like, the Ravens are the greatest thing ever. And then I'm just like, look, this team is overrated because they've been playing rookie quarterbacks every single year. Like I think
Yeah.
they had Caleb Williams' first start
Mm-hmm.
and a couple other people's first start in the NFL,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just insane. They just come in and beat up on rookie quarterbacks. It was
Yeah.
because the NFL schedulers created a situation where they'd start off 4-0, which basically guaranteed them making the playoffs
Mm-hmm.
once you get that far in. So, I mean, how this works out, the first game of the season tells you a lot about what the NFL as a whole thinks your season is going to be. So, if you look at the Steelers' first game, who do they got?
Atlanta.
And Atlanta was what, like 500?
No, they were worse than 500, I
What were
believe.
they? They were not
Yeah.
a good football team, and they
No.
were not even in a good division, and they were not a good football team. Um, so that tells you right there, the Steelers got the cupcake to start the season, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you check over to the Browns schedule for a second, you ask, well, who are the Browns playing first?
Hmm.
Week 1 of the season, the Browns open up with Jacksonville. Jacksonville made the
Oh.
playoffs. And Jacksonville's a team they want to market because you got Travis Hunter, you've got the team on the rise, right? So
Yeah.
they get the cupcake game, which is
So
us,
so
Cleveland.
yeah, you're the slippery rock,
We're the
university,
cupcake
yes.
team. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the NFL already thinks the Browns are not going to be good next year. And I don't blame them, right? They got a new coach. They have an uncertainty at quarterback, blah, blah, blah. So they're getting the garbage schedule. We have never gotten an easy schedule to
Yeah.
start, which is why we haven't been 1-0 to start the season, and I don't know how long. I mean, it's happened in recent years, but we went for a
Mm-hmm.
streak for almost a decade. And it's because you get
Yeah.
pitted against these first place teams against the division. You know how the schedule works, right? Just for anybody in the crowd that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
know how the schedule works. The AFC North plays every team in one other AFC division. Okay?
Yes.
And the AFC North will play one division in the NFC. They will play every team in one NFC division, which is why
Mm-hmm.
the AFC North this year has the NFC South. I'm not sure
Yes.
who the AFC team
AFC
AFC
South. AFC South. We have AFC South and NFC
and
South.
the NFC South both.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that would make sense for Jacksonville because we wouldn't get the first place schedule. Now, if you're
Right.
doing math at home, you're thinking, okay, that's 6 division games plus 8 games, right? That equals 14. So where are the other 3 coming from, right? Because you got 17. The other 3 games are coming from the Browns, who are in 4th place in the AFC North, will play the 4th place teams in every other AFC division.
Mm-hmm.
So they will get whoever was in last place, the Jets. I'm looking at it real quick. The Titans and the Texans. Does that sound right? No, the Texans are in the South. The Vegas Raiders, right? Because they were last.
Yep. Yep.
So they're going to get the last place team in every AFC division.
Mm-hmm.
So, given the fact that they start off with the first place team of the
Mm-hmm.
AFC South, they had multiple choices. You have 4 last place teams that you could have pit the Browns against in week 1. And the NFL chose the first place team of the AFC South,
Yeah.
right? And the NFL chose to put the Steelers, who were going to get the first place schedule, right? Because the Steelers won the AFC North, so they're going to play AFC South, NFC South. Then they're going to play the first place teams of every
All
AFC
the
division. So
divisions.
you're going to get the Patriots. You're going to get who was the first place team in the West? The Chiefs, or was it the Broncos?
No, we
Whoever
have
won the
Denver.
West,
Denver.
so you're
Yeah.
going to get the winner of the West. You're going to get the winner of the South. You're going to get the winner of the East.
Yep.
And that's how they create prime time games.
Right.
Okay. So then the schedule comes out and says, we know we've got all these people. How do we arrange a schedule in such a way that gets the people we think are going to be the winners to be the winners and get them playing in the primetime games at the end of the season when it's snowy out and people have nothing to do but watch TV?
Right.
Okay, that's how the schedule is actually orchestrated, not any other way. Now, what was interesting was last season the Patriots had the 32nd strength of schedule and came out of nowhere to be a decent football team, right? So the NFL didn't expect that to happen. So they opened up
Yeah.
against a rough team. So
Do
just
you
some
think that,
thoughts on schedules.
do
Go
you
ahead,
think
Mike.
the Browns have that opportunity? No, I mean, I do. Like, looking at your schedule, if the Browns are going to do something, this is the year to do it.
Right.
It really
I would
is.
agree. This is the year to do it because Pittsburgh's got a head coach change. Baltimore's got a head coach change. Cincinnati seems to be primed to win the division this year, and
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland's got a head coach change. So, given that in an average year where the whole division is pretty much just 500 against everyone else, although we like to
Right.
believe this myth that like certain teams dominate the division, they really don't.
All right.
It's the division AFC North is really 500 up and
Mm-hmm.
down. So this would be the year to make the moves in the AFC, but in the
Yeah.
AFC North. But I don't know. I mean, the uncertainty in quarterback, like the Browns
Yeah.
are truly showing like this is how you rebuild. You build your defense, you build your running game. That's year 1 of a rebuild. Year 2, you start building your offense, and then year 3, you go all in on a quarterback. So
Mm-hmm.
we're in year 2 of a 3-year rebuild, hoping to be a competitive team by the time our new stadium opens. So I
But
mean, I
do
could
you
see
think?
it.
Do you think like after the draft? So this is post draft now. Do you think after the draft you guys are prepared to cash in on the easiest schedule in the NFL?
Not really. I'm not gonna lie. Not really.
Okay.
And because of this, your whole offensive line is different. The
Okay.
entire
Mm-hmm.
offensive line.
Yeah.
There are projected 2 rookies to start on this offensive line, left tackle and possibly center.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I mean, it takes a while for an offensive line to get molded together. You're going to have 2 new rookie wide receivers.
Yeah.
Okay. And your running back is coming off a major knee injury, which I'm surprised they didn't pick up somebody to play running back because of that. The offense is a mess. It's going to have to be put together, which is I'm starting to believe that Deshaun Watson might actually start in Cleveland. And for no other reason than this. You have an offensive line that's rebuilt. You have weapons that are needing to learn in the NFL. What
Mm-hmm.
a better way to throw out this guy that like has almost single-handedly destroyed your franchise. Let him get his butt tackled and
Yes.
sacked and destroyed
Yes.
for 6 weeks. Because what have you got to lose? I mean, you're already paying the guy. Let him go out there and get beat up. And then by the time these rookies play 6, 7, 8 games and figure out what the NFL is about, then throw Shooter Sanders in there and
Right.
figure out if he can play in the NFL, which is when the second half or the harder part of the Browns schedule comes out.
Yeah.
So I think it's just another transition year for the Browns, and we'll probably be playing a last place schedule again next year.
Yeah. So I took a look at the Brown schedule, right? Your schedule. At the Brown schedule. I looked at it, and I saw the AFC South and I saw the NFC South games, right? So you've got 4 road games. You've got Jacksonville, Tampa, Houston, and Atlanta, right? You're going to go down into the heat and the rain and the humidity and all of that jazz, right? And so AFC North teams usually historically don't play well in those conditions on the road and stuff like that. How are the Browns going to be able to handle that?
It's interesting because they start at Jacksonville, at Tampa Bay, week 1 and week 2. The
Mm-hmm.
NFL has already, with the schedule, just said the Browns are be playing a last place schedule next year because this is in no
Mm-hmm.
way, shape, or form setting this team up to be successful. Right. Then they got the Panthers at home. Then they're
Mm-hmm.
Thursday night against the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Then they're back into New York, which, New York is a terrible place to play just from the conditions of the field. Everybody
Right.
hates that stadium. So, and then they got Baltimore. This is not I mean, they say it's easy, but we need to talk about what easy means in this schedule. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the Browns. I mean, I'm a Browns fan. I
Yeah.
want to believe they can go into Jacksonville and beat Jacksonville. And I think, given the state of the defense, if they could literally just be competent on offense, they
Mm-hmm.
could win a lot more games. I think you could win 4 more games for the Browns if you just have a competent offense. The defense is elite. This is a top 5 defense in the NFL. If you could just
Yeah.
score 21 points,
Yeah. You could win. You
you'll
could
win
win.
football games. So
Yeah.
it just comes down to how quickly can these guys come together. Do you have good,
Yeah.
solid leadership at quarterback? Can Deshaun Watson, if he starts, which I'm thinking he should, get everybody on the right page, teach him how to be a professional
Mm-hmm.
before you throw a rookie in there? I still think it's going to be a mess to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. I think select quarterback selection for you guys, and then just keeping. I mean, the defense, like, you're going to be able to perform in the AFC North. You will,
Mm-hmm.
because all of those teams are just defensive teams, right? Look at the the scoring that happens. It's like it, you know difference point differential of 3 points, right? Point differential of 5 points, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
there are no blowouts in the AFC North, right? Nobody's blowing anybody out,
Right, like
right?
it's a 500 division. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And so, I mean, you have opportunities there, but on the road, I think that's where I see the Browns struggling this year, is because they're playing in inhospitable conditions, and they're playing offense first teams, right? Teams that are usually, throwing 30, 40 points up a game. And that's going to be
Right.
difficult.
And the AFC North is built to run the football. That's what a lot of these teams are all
Mm-hmm.
built on, is running the football.
Mm-hmm.
Except for the Bengals. Bengals come out passing, so you have to
Yeah.
know how to play pass defense. But I don't know. I mean, it I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just don't think you look at a 30. You look at a schedule and you say, oh yeah, they got the weakest schedule in the NFL. I'm not entirely convinced. Let's go down a different road for a second. Okay, we're talking about the AFC South. Let's talk about them for a
Mm-hmm.
second. They
Mm-hmm.
were a 500 division and struggled. Now
Yeah.
ask yourself, we see their winning percentage, but what we often look at that in isolation.
Mm-hmm.
Who did they play last year? Well, the AFC South played the NFC West, who brought 3 teams into playoffs, and they played the AFC East, which put the other team into the Super Bowl
Yeah.
and put 2 teams into the playoffs. So
Mm-hmm.
are these teams really that bad when they're playing 5 playoff teams in their division games against the NFC West
Mm-hmm.
and the AFC East?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe they have a winning percentage that is not indicative of who they are as a team. Or maybe you just say, yeah, you know what, that's their record, that's who they are. I'm not convinced they're as bad as their records show, because they played a lot of very, very good teams, all of which are Super Bowl contenders. Buffalo,
Mm-hmm.
New England last year, because they had I don't think the New England makes playoffs this year. I'm just putting that out there. Seattle, definitely. San Francisco, depends on how that electric deals with their situation. And you've got the Rams. The Rams are kind of hit or miss, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're Super Bowl contenders, or they're barely making the playoffs. So when you place those 5 teams last year in that situation,
Mm-hmm.
that's almost 5 losses. If you're a 500 team, or you're like
Yeah.
just over a 500 team, and you're playing 5 elite teams in division games, that's going to be 5 losses. So
Yeah.
you put those against other 500 teams, are we looking at the weakest schedule in the NFL right now? Maybe not.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. My prediction for the AFC North this year is going to be, all 4 of the teams are going to be super close. I think everybody's 9-8. I think everybody is pulling a Steelers, and everybody's going to be 9-8 this year, just by
Right. And
looking at the schedule.
I think if you do that, it means the Browns are making a late season surge. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the Steelers are making a late season surge if what you're saying is coming true.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The Browns have figured it out at the end of the season. Shador Sanders is the guy,
Mm-hmm.
and they're moving forward. If Shador Sanders is not the guy, then they're probably not. They're probably the front office wants to tank, and Monken wants to win, and that's what we'll be dealing with in Cleveland.
Yeah.
If Pittsburgh can keep Rodgers upright, I do think that you guys will be extremely competitive at the end of the
Yep.
season. If the whole system to start with, the first six or so games you guys have
Mm-hmm.
are games that you can take on and win, given the changes that are going on. And you're looking at Atlanta, that's an easy kind of walk in and let's get it done,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then you got New England, which I think is not going to be as difficult as you think.
Correct.
The Bengals, that's always a rivalry game. You're at the Browns on Thursday night. Now, I'm going to say this, the Browns are tough on Thursday night,
Mm-hmm.
particularly at home. And so that's going to be a game the Steelers are not going to be able to overlook.
Yeah.
Not, I mean, I know it's going to be tempting to walk, oh, the Steelers are going to walk all over the Browns. Thursday night against Pittsburgh in Cleveland is a game the Steelers should be worried about. Yeah, then you've got Indianapolis. I mean, who knows what they're doing? You're at Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield could be anything. I mean, like Baker Mayfield just throws games away at the end of the season. Then you've got New Orleans. Then you're back against Cleveland. And if you haven't figured it out by then,
Mm-hmm.
you got some
Yeah.
issues
Yeah.
because at
Yeah.
that point is when your schedule actually starts, right? So now you got the Bengals again, then you got the Eagles, the Broncos, the Texans, the Jaguars, the Ravens. Maybe depends on what Carolina's doing with Bryce Young. Who knows what's going on down there in Carolina? The
Right.
only reprieve you may have is Week 17 with Tennessee, and that's assuming that their new head coach can't get their quarterback straightened out, and then you end at the Ravens. So
Yeah.
you better figure it out before Week 9,
Yeah. Yeah.
because after that it is like prime time after prime time after prime time. At least potential. I mean, you've got the Bengals at 8:20, the Eagles at 4:20, the Broncos at 3 o'clock, which is essentially a 1 o'clock game. Then you've got the Texans at 8:20. I'm looking at your schedule, right? I got all four of them. Yeah, the Texans at eight
Yeah.
twenty, and then the Jaguars at 8:45. Then you got the 1 o'clock with the Ravens. You got a to be determined with the Panthers. A 1 o'clock at Tennessee because they expect Tennessee to be garbage, and then a Ravens to be determined. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
you literally have the potential to have 5 primetime games to end the
Yeah.
season.
Yep. 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 And in comparison to the Browns, which are playing pretty much 1 o'clock every Sunday.
Yep. The only primetime game we have is the Steelers Week 4
Yeah. Week 4
at home
at
in
home,
Cleveland. Yep.
nighttime game.
And I've already told Brian that he's going to find a new steward for that day. So already told him.
Okay.
Already thrown
All
down.
right.
Like
All
this is
right.
this. I'm watching this out back on my projector.
All right.
Hopefully we won't.
Somebody better invite me.
Look, you are more than invited to come over and watch the football game out back in my house, man.
Nice, nice.
We'll have a good time. We'll chug some stuff up, set a bonfire if we want.
It'll be good.
It'll be primo. Um,
Primo.
primo. Yeah. So, I mean, the Browns. Like, if we want to work through the Browns schedule, lost at Jacksonville. Tampa Bay will be a game because Baker Mayfield and his like external motivation and his lack of internal drive will be
Mm-hmm.
externally motivated by seeing the Browns and Todd Monken, who was the offensive coordinator when the Browns decided to get rid of Baker Mayfield. I think the
Mm-hmm.
person Baker Mayfield should be mad about is really Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry. They really
Yeah.
scuttled Baker Mayfield. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's who his real enemy is. Not the Browns, it's those two people.
Yeah.
You got Carolina at home. I mean, that's a kind of a winnable game. Pittsburgh Week 4, which I think the Browns will be up for. Then you're at the Jets. Ravens at home. I mean, we usually split with the Ravens,
Yeah.
but I mean, last year I think we lost both to the Ravens, but that was the first
Mm-hmm.
time in like 4 years we lost both to the Ravens. At Tennessee, week 7:20 or 10:25 at Tennessee. My son is already, Dad, let's go to Tennessee. Let's go to Tennessee. So I may be at. I don't know what's going to happen, but I may be in Tennessee,
Yeah.
in Nashville on the 25th of October. Then you got the Steelers at home, 1 o'clock. Or Steelers in Pittsburgh at 1 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
At New Orleans, at home against the Texans, week 11 bye, then you're at the Raiders. Every year we go to the Raiders, I keep telling my son we got to go to Vegas
That would be
and check out the
fun.
Raiders.
That would be so fun.
Have to. Actually, the Vegas Raiders are at home. They're not in Vegas. They're in Cleveland this year. But we typically get the Vegas Raiders
Mm-hmm.
because they're always last out there in the AFC West. So we typically get them on our schedule.
Yeah.
Um, in Cincinnati on week 13, Falcons week 14, at the Giants. 2 games in that garbage stadium in New York. So we'll probably be
Mm-hmm.
limping going into week 16 against the Ravens.
Yeah.
At home against the Colts, and then once again ending the season in Cincinnati. This has to be 3 or 4 years in a row.
Yep.
Like we're ending in Cincinnati because that
Yep.
puts you guys against Baltimore,
Right.
which I think the NFL wants that
They want
Pittsburgh
that so
Baltimore
bad.
to
Yeah.
end that season, which is if we look at Baltimore's, I haven't looked at Baltimore's schedule, but I'm guessing they're going to get their cupcakes up front and the primetime stuff on the back end because I'm pretty sure the NFL thinks that they're going to be like the other team,
Yeah.
right? So they start with Indianapolis, New Orleans. That's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about, right? Then they got Dallas. Who knows who Dallas is? Then you got Tennessee, Atlanta. Boy, what they got? The 30th schedule to start the season at the Browns. First real opponent, and I say this as a Browns fan, their first real opponent shows up week 7 in Cincinnati, or
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati goes to Baltimore,
Mm-hmm.
and Joe Burrow, what was he like complaining last year that every time they play Baltimore, it's on 1 o'clock? Why can't they get a prime time in
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore? 1 o'clock again in Baltimore for Cincinnati. Then Buffalo, it's out. Now we're hitting the second half of the schedule, right?
Yeah.
Buffalo, Jacksonville, the Chargers, who are a pretty good team. Then you got Carolina, kind of a down week for them, right? The Texans, bye week on 13 at Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh. They got all their AFC North games at the end of the season.
Yep.
What's that about?
Yeah.
That means they play all their AFC South, all of their NFC South
Yep.
games
Yep.
before touching the AFC North.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I swear, I swear,
Yeah.
I swear Biscotti pays off the schedulers. Like he knows who makes these schedules and he pays them off. Like how do they get these schedules? Every year I look at these schedules and I think there's something shady going on here.
Yeah.
And I once again, having been the first time I looked at it, I swear it's shady. All right, let's see what's going on with the Bengals. Open at home against Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield is good against the Bengals, so
Yeah.
they may be a little concerned there. At Houston, so they've got. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the NFL doesn't want Cincinnati playing well this year because they got a couple games to start the season that are pretty good, and then they got Pittsburgh, Jacksonville. Boy, they don't let up on them, do they? They could start 0-4.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, they could start 0-4.
Yeah.
If they don't come out firing, they could start 0-4. Miami, they should take Miami. They got a new coach this year, right?
Yep.
Yep,
Yep.
yep. They should
Because,
take
yep.
Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Week 6 bye. I mean, does the NFL hate the Bengals? They get the Ravens after the bye, so good for
Mm-hmm.
them,
Yeah.
right? And then they got the Titans. Then they get a little easier: Titans, Falcons, Steelers, Commanders, right? Then you're looking at the Saints, Browns. Then they get the Chiefs again because the Bengals were in second and so were the Chiefs. They get the Chiefs again. I'd almost rather have the Broncos than the Chiefs. I'm not gonna lie. Then you got the Panthers at the Colts. That's an easy just take a bus, right?
Right.
And then you got the Ravens, and you got the Ravens and the Browns at home. So they help them out at the end of the season to have 2 home games to finish the season. But
Yeah.
man, that Ravens schedule just is irritating.
Mm-hmm.
They play all these garbage teams.
I felt the same way.
And then you get into week 15 and oh my God, we never scheduled them against their
We forgot
actual opponents.
We forgot to schedule the AFC North teams.
One of 2 things is going to happen by the time we reach 15. Either A, they will have already won the division because
Yeah.
everybody in the AFC North have played all the other games against each
Mm-hmm.
other, right? So they will have already won the division and they'll just scoot into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Or Lamar Jackson will be hurt because he is at that point in his
Yeah.
career.
Oh, yeah.
He'll be hurt, and this will be like dud after dud after dud after
Mm-hmm.
dud for the NFL schedule.
Yep. Yep. I
One of
agree.
two things is going to happen. It's either be a bunch of duds at the end of the season because
Mm-hmm.
they don't have their quarterback, or they will have already won the division because they haven't played the AFC North. And like I said, the AFC North is a 500 division, and if
Mm-hmm.
they walk in with some ridiculous schedule in Week 15, and they got 4 games left, 2 against Pittsburgh, and they go 2-2, they probably still win the division.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It is what it
That's
is.
some crazy stuff, man.
Yeah.
And
Now,
that's some
I've got
crazy stuff.
the steel. So remember, my theme about this is the NFL is football is entertainment.
Right.
Entertainment. So the Steelers, I think, have been programmed to be the entertaining team for the NFL this season. So we did get Aaron Rodgers, right? He signed $25 million contract 1 year with the Steelers. And I think he's going to come out slinging. We've got a whole new set of receivers, right? We finally have a receiver core.
Mm-hmm.
We finally have a coach that is offense-minded, who is showing up and actually coaching the quarterbacks, getting them better, getting them prepared. We have receiving coordinators, a new OC, a new DC. We're ready to go. I think we're going to win a lot of the games in the first half of the season. We're going to go to France. We're going to go and play the Saints. The Saints are home in France, right?
I want to jump in on this because the
Yeah.
Browns were originally scheduled to play that game.
Mm-hmm.
So something changed the schedule because it was
Mm-hmm.
leaked that the Browns were going to be in France against the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden now the Steelers are in France. And I almost wonder, like, that these schedules are not made in a vacuum. I almost wonder if Jimmy Haslam's like lobbying. Like, look, we're not going to be good. Just give us 1 o'clock games. This is where we get people to come in and watch. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something's fishy with this one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
go
well,
ahead.
I think as the Steelers got closer to locking Aaron Rodgers, I think that had some indication on what the schedule was going to look like. Honestly.
Yeah, so I do wonder if, like, had Aaron Rodgers not signed before the schedule, if the Steelers would have gotten a fundamentally different schedule.
Correct.
Like if they would have come out with
Mm-hmm.
the the last place schedule,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna go play all these teams early because nobody expects you to win. But now that you've got Aaron Rodgers, we think you can be entertaining at the end of the season. So we want to stack you early with some early wins to make the end of the season, like the Ravens got.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I don't know. But again, I'm going to say this. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. My prognostication is Aaron Rodgers plays the first 8 games.
Mm-hmm.
He starts the first 8 games. He's the quarterback. He wins games. It's exciting. He goes to France, beats the Saints there, beats the home team, the Saints, because they have the fleur-de-lis, right? That was really kind of cool. And then they meet the Browns on week 8, right, at Acrisure, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Browns in Pittsburgh, and I believe in that game Aaron Rodgers gets injured.
Well, I mean, you saw how he played against the Browns last time.
Yeah, I believe week 8 Aaron Rodgers will get. So we're going to come back to this episode in a few weeks, right?
Save this one for receipts later, gentlemen.
Receipts, that's right. So Aaron Rodgers does get injured week 8, and then Will Howard is the quarterback for the Steelers for the remaining part of the season. Now, if you look at the schedule, the home games, check out the home games, right? So the Steelers home versus the road and stuff like that, you really need to take a look at that because the home games we have are Denver, Carolina, Atlanta, and Indy. They're all dome teams. They're all teams that effectively throw. And
Carolina is not in a dome. They're outside.
Okay.
But it's also Carolina. So it's not like they're dealing with snow or weather.
Right, great weather. Great weather, right. Yeah, so they're not used to Pittsburgh weather, and they're going to be looking at a situation where you've got the Steelers playing in an open area, rain, wind, snow, whatever happens, right, is going to happen there. And those teams historically don't perform well in
Hmm.
Pittsburgh, right? So you're going to get to see the ground pounding, the meat grinding inside Acrisure this
I,
year.
I I would say that Denver game, they're probably built to handle Pittsburgh weather. Now, if you're talking about Houston, I'm giving you
Yeah.
that. I'm giving you my Baltimore knows what Pittsburgh is. Carolina, I'll give you Carolina. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's see. Yeah, those are the two I'll give you because
Okay.
because you've got Denver. I
Yeah.
like Denver in that stadium. I think they can do it. Texans are going to fall apart.
I think the
You're
Colts. I think the Colts fall apart at Acrisure.
well. I don't even know where the Colts are at. Like I'm looking at the second half here. Let me
Okay.
go back to the first half here.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. When is the
it's
fifth game five?
October. I don't know. I don't know what whether you're getting it in October.
Okay.
But I'm not a fan of Indianapolis. I don't know what they're doing at quarterback. I mean, they do something different at quarterback. I mean, they're going out there with Daniel Jones again.
I guess. Yeah, I think so.
I mean, they got Anthony Richardson out there. I mean, I don't know even know why they drafted that dude. That's a whole
Right.
nother topic. At
Right.
Tampa Bay, maybe rough.
Mm-hmm.
Although typically the Steelers have owned Baker Mayfield, he's not good post snap. So that's what
No.
Pittsburgh's good at is post
Mm-hmm.
snap. I'll give you New Orleans, if especially if 10-25 is like a colder
Mm-hmm.
October. I think you could that's a good argument for New Orleans. Um, yeah, I'll give you those teams, but I'm not giving you Denver.
Okay.
I think Denver can play in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I mean, you ever watch the snow games in Denver? I mean, last year they had a game that was just pure snow.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think they can handle that. And then I think they're a running team. Those
Yeah.
Sean Payton teams are very physically tough teams. So that one's going to be a quote unquote bloodbath on week 12. That one's going to
Mm-hmm.
be two teams that like to be a little questionable on their hits and the whistle. And Sean Payton literally was
Yeah.
suspended for a year for paying people to hurt people. And
Yeah.
the NFL tried to make it sound like it was all Greg Williams, but that's what the NFL does. They want to keep their golden boys golden, and Greg Williams is
Mm-hmm.
he's expendable. So you know, and it's not surprising to me that once Sean Payton went to Denver, they've literally had players
Mm-hmm.
suspended for playing dirty in Denver, and then we ask, why are they playing dirty? Well, maybe it's Sean Payton, just like he has been suspended for this, but nobody tends to ask that question.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I'm liking the schedule. I think the Steelers probably of the four teams, they probably have the hardest schedule. And I think the Bengals and the Ravens probably have mid schedules. I think they're just, they're not
Well,
they're not terribly difficult.
That's
Uh,
that's how the NFL wants to stack it, right?
yeah,
The
yeah,
the the Steelers won the division; they get the toughest schedule in the
right.
division, and then the other two teams get the second and third
Mm-hmm.
place, and the last place team gets the last place
Mm-hmm.
schedule, in the hopes that that will create parity throughout the standings. Because then you make it the standings as who wins the division,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Like somebody
Mm-hmm.
has a really weak schedule, another team has a really hard schedule, and then all of a sudden the team with the weak schedule can just win the division because they played cupcakes.
Right.
It's like the Brady Patriots, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Bills, Jets, and Dolphins were just like trash.
Yeah.
They could roll the ball out and have 6 wins and make the playoffs before they even started the season. Except the Dolphins kind of fought the Patriots during that era,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, um, yeah, that's ridiculous. The,
Yeah.
the 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 stuff Tom Brady got was out of control scheduling. We could go back and look at like how those
Mhm.
schedules played out. That's a benchmark, and like we want the Patriots to win the Super Bowl. But if I had to look at the schedules, I would think that they really want, like the NFL really wants that Week 17 game against Pittsburgh and Baltimore
Yeah.
to mean something. From the
Right.
way the Steelers are lined up, the way Baltimore is just being handed the division before they even start, the
Mm-hmm.
way their schedule works out. Um, I don't know.
Yeah.
I still kind of like the Bengals in this division, they just kind of have to overcome their schedule. They have a rough start on their schedule, and that is
Mm-hmm.
what I don't know why the NFL screwed them. I don't know if the NFL hates Mike Brown, which I could get. They hate Mike Brown. I totally understand that. Right? Maybe they hate Mike Brown. Maybe Mike Brown isn't paying the scheduler enough. I don't know why they get these crappy schedules. You would
Yeah.
think that they would want the Bengals to be good. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I think so, there's a lot that lies on the Bengals just trying to be good, right? Honestly, they just need to try to be good.
And maybe that's the thing. Maybe
Yeah.
the NFL looks at Mike Brown and says,
Yeah.
if you don't care, why should we care? I
Yeah.
mean, and that's why you end up getting these schedules is
Yeah.
because Mike Brown's out there just collecting paychecks. I mean, he admits like quarterbacks have literally retired on this team because they
Mm-hmm.
know they are just basically a cash cow for him to milk and get money. They're not interested in winning. So if they're not interested in winning, why should the NFL give them a schedule that would
Mm-hmm.
help them win, like the Ravens did?
Right. Right. Yeah, and the 17th game of the season, right, with the Steelers versus the Ravens, you've got, it's always TBA, right? It's always
Right.
TBA. So it's either going to be a bad game, and so it'll be Sunday at 1 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
or it'll be Sunday prime time.
It would be like the division's over because we gave it to the
Right.
Ravens in the schedule.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah, and if that injury prognostication comes through, and Aaron Rodgers does get injured, and Will Howard does not perform, that could be the Sunday 1 o'clock game, right? Because
right.
we could lose the final balance of our schedule,
Right. And
including to the Ravens.
I don't think Baltimore. I think Baltimore's a mess, and I think the NFL is giving them a chance to figure it
Yeah.
out before the real games hit. Because you look at who they're signing on defense, but besides the whole debacle with Max Crosby,
Mm-hmm.
my question was, how does Max Crosby fit their defense? Right? He plays a down, hand in the ground 4-3 defensive end. They don't play that defense, so they're just going to bring him in on pass rush downs, which makes sense with Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah.
Like, because he gets hurt so much that they may just bring him in on pass downs.
Exactly.
But they're
Yeah.
paying him
Mm-hmm.
like he's an everyday player. I mean, if you want to do that, just bring in Clowney. They had Jadeveon
Yeah.
Clowney, who, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
is not a pass rusher. He is a run defender. I love him as a 4-3 defensive end on the left side to stop right-handed runs, but
Mm-hmm.
that's his value. But he doesn't seem to understand that's his value, and
Sure.
therefore acts like a moron. But I just wonder what Baltimore's doing. Like, what are they going to actually run an actual offense with Lamar Jackson? Because they've been running that Greg Roman basically pistol read option offense forever.
Yup. Yup.
And and if he keeps running that quarterback option, one, can Derrick Henry carry the load? I don't think so. And two, if Derrick Henry can't carry the load, are you going to have Lamar Jackson running? And then you're asking him to get hurt. So I am not. I am more bearish on
Mm-hmm.
the Ravens than I am bullish.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I think the schedule helps them because they get a lot of time to figure this out, maybe keep them healthy, maybe not have to deal with it. But I think they're a mess. I think they're more of a mess than people want to imagine. They're a
Okay.
mess.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. Did you see anything in the preseason stuff that looked any good?
Well, I mean, it's preseason games, so
Yeah.
we're probably not going to see anybody. But I don't know. I mean, the Minnesota Vikings are intriguing to me. It would
Mm-hmm.
be interesting to see what happens to their quarterback situation.
Yeah.
Um, it's interesting that JJ McCarthy is struggling as much as he is. I mean, it's not surprising because I mean, when you are told what the defense is doing, it's easier to beat the defense
Yeah.
because it's been signaled to you from the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the people who are signaling that stuff to the sideline from you now is actually the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. Um, So yeah, both Harbaugh and I can't remember think of the guy's name who's coaching the Ravens right now.
Mm-hmm.
Both have show clauses to coach in college football for cheating. And the NFL is just like, okay, come on, why not? But oh my God, if Terrell Pryor gets a tattoo for free, we're gonna suspend him for like a season. We're not gonna let that go on. But yeah, you want to cheat? Come on, why not?
It's unbelievable.
I it's ridiculous. But
Yeah.
anyway, Yeah, the Minnesota quarterback situation is interesting, and
Mm-hmm.
week 3 would be the week to watch that team just to see what they do, who they put out with their
Yeah.
first team, because they got Kirk Cousins up there now. No, where's Cousins at? He's in Vegas. I'm sorry. Who did they bring in Minnesota?
Mm.
They brought in somebody to compete with McCarthy. I can't remember who it is, but that'll be an interesting thing to watch because I'm sure right now they have remorse over Sam Darnold, who just won the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
uh, letting him go. So,
Maybe they're just going to have Kyler Murray just like start for them.
that's it. Kyler Murray. Kyler,
Yeah.
I grew up a Vikings fan, Murray, right? I mean, they better come out with that outside zone offense for him
Oh my
because there's no
gosh.
way he's going to see over an offensive line.
No way. No
So
way.
if you don't manufacture looks for him, you're screwed. I don't even understand how he went first overall. I Things that I just don't
Me either.
understand. What they
No.
did was
No.
they hired a college quarterback or college head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that year that he got drafted, they hired a college head coach to bring in a college offense, and
Mm-hmm.
like they got a guy who succeeded in college.
Yep. Yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
shock, it did not work in the NFL. Who would have thought that it wouldn't have worked in the NFL?
Right, right, exactly. That's what we find out. All these kids that just got drafted, right? And then we see that, in the time between the draft to the first true game of the season, we get to go in and see, which one of these guys are already washed, right? Because they didn't learn anything, right? They didn't learn anything, in the 3 months that they had to prepare to play
Mm-hmm.
actual football.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what separates a bust from a hit in the draft is
Mm-hmm.
you have to guess essentially when this player shows up, are they going to embrace the system? Are they going to be professionals? Or are
Yeah.
they just going to act like morons with money?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, and if they act like morons with money, well, that didn't work out.
Right.
And you don't know until you
Yeah.
get them in your building and they figure out what they're actually about.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Are they going to be able to do what is being asked of them? Right. Of the nutrition guys. Do you need to put on 30 pounds? Right. Do you need to take off 30 pounds? Right. All of the things that the new guys have to go through that the vets don't have to. Right. This is the OTAs are the important building blocks for these new guys, which
Mm-hmm.
was super exciting to see that Aaron Rodgers is already in there for the non-mandatory OTAs, which
Well, he's a step ahead of
shocked
Miles
me.
Garrett.
Yeah, it just shocked me. I was like, what are you doing there? And then TJ Watt, who, past 3 years, he has not showed up for those early OTAs, and he's there. I'm like, what? So Pittsburgh's doing something different. I don't know if it's McCarthy, right? A new head coach that is bringing that kind of energy, that is, making these guys say, hey, instead of, hanging out on a Caribbean island, for the next month and a half, I'm going to be in Pittsburgh, right? Where it's
Mm-hmm.
rainy and cold and windy and hot and humid and whatever, right?
I
Uh,
mean, I hate to say it this way, but maybe they respect their head coach. Maybe they believe in their head coach and think with this guy we can actually win.
yeah. Well, yeah, and he's a coach. He's an actual coach, right? And he's already been getting into it. He's already been getting into it with Will Howard, and just taking all the visuals of how Aaron steps back, into the pocket,
Mm-hmm.
and then how Howard steps into the pocket, and then telling Will, hey, stop doing that. Stop doing that. Do what Aaron's doing, right? Do what he is doing, like, and
Mm-hmm.
actually coaching a quarterback, right? That's stuff that Tomlin never really took part in. Like,
And I would say in Cleveland, Kevin Stefanski never really did that stuff either. Like there was discussions after discussion after discussion of Shador Sanders just not being coached, being relegated
yeah,
to a third field, and I mean he's already
yeah,
come out and said he's gotten more coaching in OTAs than he got all of last year.
yes, yeah, yeah, and we knew that. Like, I mean, there was an assumption that's what was going on in Pittsburgh, just because of how rusty everybody comes out
Mm-hmm.
in the preseason, super rusty. and then the vets don't play at all, right? They don't play any of the preseason stuff, right? They then they're rusty the first 2, 3, 4 games, right, of the season. They're rusty out there. And, then Juju Smith-Schuster, 3 years ago left the Steelers. We let him go. And he said, I was never coached by the Steelers. They just put me out there. I learned the plays and I ran the plays, right? But I was never coached. Right. And that's an honest thing from a young kid, right? Who wanted to do good for his team. But he said, yeah, I was never being coached. Nobody ever improved me. I never got that kind of direction. Right. And James Conner said the same thing, when he left the Steelers, right? When he left, he was like, hey, this is the first time I'm actually getting coached to be an NFL player.
How you guys winning like 500 doing this? And the other thing to think about, if you're 500 with no coaching, imagine what would happen if you actually had coaches out there doing stuff.
Right. Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing.
That's probably the thing to be sad about. Like, hey, we're 500, but we just wasted 20 years of like not getting coached. We could have been winning Super Bowls and stuff.
Exactly.
And we just threw it down the toilet.
Yeah, and for anybody that says that, like, because we have all new coaching staff, that we're going to have a garbage season, I don't believe that at all. I believe that this will be the first season where we're actually have guys that are going out and getting coached, and it's not questionable what's going on, right? And we've got, we've had the highest paid defense for the past 7 years in the NFL, and we have not done anything with it. We've not done anything with it. So we've got a new DC. Our entire defensive coaching staff is brand new and hand-picked by Mike McCarthy. Hand-picked. So,
I mean, I'm not saying you guys are going to be garbage. I'm just saying there's going to be a learning curve.
Sure. But I don't think it's a cliff. I don't think it's a cliff because when you go from a situation where you're not getting coached,
I think it's the scheme. You just have to get the nuance of the scheme. I think I mentioned this once before. Yeah. You'll get the basic outline of the scheme, but it's the nuance that really makes the difference, and the nuance will take 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And so by the beginning of your season, let's see, you're looking at Atlanta, New England, Cincinnati may be a little rough because they might be able to exploit the lack of nuance in the Pittsburgh scheme at that point. Cleveland's always a tough game. So, I mean, regardless, it's going to be a tough game. But I think by the time you hit Indianapolis, you're going to be rolling. You're going to be hitting your stride. You're going to have Tampa Bay, New Orleans coming back to Cleveland at home. You should pretty much dominate them. Hit the bye week, right? And then the second half of your season starting. So if you could roll out of week 8 at least 500, you're going to be okay. At least 500. Now, I think you could do better. I mean, I think you can beat Atlanta. Just depends on, I mean, because the Falcons are coached by Kevin Stefanski, so they're going to be a mess week 1. And then you've got New England will be well coached. The question is, can you just beat them because they played nobody last year? And then Cincinnati's going to be the only team that's going to be put together, but they always start slow. But unfortunately, you're getting them week 3 and not week 1. So they may be coming out after 2 losses to Tampa Bay and Houston, just because they lose 2 games to start the season. That seems to be the way they do things.
Right.
And then they're going to be coming back with a vengeance in week 3, so that might be tough. Cleveland will be tough. Indianapolis should be a game you should win. Depends on what they're doing at quarterback. You should be able to take Tampa Bay. You should be able to take New Orleans. And then the second Cleveland game should be, depends on where the Browns are at. I mean, if they got an offense going, if they have figured it out by that point, that may be a pretty good game. If they haven't figured it out and they've decided, screw it, we're just going to go to Shadur Sanders.
Yeah.
That may be a rollover. I mean, it just depends. I just think Deshaun Watson's going to go out there to start the season to get beat up.
Yeah.
While everybody figures out what's going on in the learning curve. He's the learning curve QB.
Yeah, week 8, you've got an opportunity in week 8, even though it's at Acrisure, right? You have got an opportunity because the Steelers are playing Sunday night in Paris and then flying back to the U.S. and have to play Thursday night with the Browns at Acrisure. So
That's Sunday night.
is it Sunday?
Sunday afternoon. But
Okay.
honestly, the Steelers asked for that because
Mm-hmm.
anytime a team plays overseas, they have the option to take their bye week right there. So the Steelers had to
Mm-hmm.
say, we will take a game
In order to get the later bye week.
to get the later bye
Yeah.
week.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Okay.
NFL said, okay, we're going to take a later game. We'll line you up against the Browns, and we'll just go from there. Because the NFL scheduler maker apparently thinks the division is garbage, or at least the Browns are garbage in their division,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to being a 500 team. You would think Tennessee's still on your schedule, right? You would think
Yeah.
they would put Tennessee right there at 8, right? Let you come back and take on that team.
Correct. Yeah.
But you got the home against the Browns, so at least at that point it's I guess it's the easiest team in the division that you're familiar with, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's not like it's the learning curve. Oh, we
Yeah.
got to play this team we haven't played, but we play the Browns twice a year every year. We've already played them
Mm-hmm.
once. We kind of know what's going on. It's just a refresher, and then we're going to play them after that Europe game. So I
Yeah.
kind of see what the NFL is trying to do. They're trying to give you a familiar opponent who should be a bad team after you're coming back from Europe.
Right. And that's the injury game too. That's the one Aaron gets hurt in.
That's the one you're thinking. It's the injury game.
Yeah.
I remember Aaron
It's the injury
Rodgers
game.
was in
Yeah.
New York, and I was doing a podcast with a buddy of mine named Elliot. Called himself the Village Elliot, which was tremendous. We were doing a podcast, and we were going over Aaron Rodgers when he was in New York, and he made a bet with me that Aaron Rodgers would be injured in the first game. I'm like, that is not happening. He's like, nope, he's old. He's in New York. It's going to happen. Like, it's not going to happen. Third play, dude
Yeah.
busted. Like, was it ACL or MCL or
Yeah, it was
I
the
forget
ACL.
what it was. Like,
Yeah, the Achilles.
Achilles.
Wasn't it?
Third play of
Yeah.
the game. I'm like,
The
this dude's
Achilles, yeah.
career is over. I'm so good for him for coming back from an Achilles injury at his age. But like,
Mm-hmm.
man, I got roasted on that one. He was just like, yeah, he's gonna get hurt in the first game. Like, that is not happening. I'll bet you money on this, and I lost.
He did. Like, no, I mean, that's that's what happens, right? And I'm excited because instead of, during OTAs, he's not, in South America and, having an ayahuasca trip and stuff like that. He's actually, stretching and working himself out, and he's
So
going to
let
be
me ask you
prepared.
this. Let me ask you this about the Steelers. So
Mm-hmm.
the Steelers now have got this kind of schedule setting them up to be competitive at the end of the season. You've got
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Rodgers. You've got a situation where if you can figure it out in the first 8 weeks, the last 8 weeks should be pretty competitive. What happens going into the next year? Does Aaron Rodgers retire? I mean, do you think Aller or Will Howard's going to be the man? But if you're winning the division and now you're picking in the 20s again, you're
Yeah.
really out of reach for any of the quarterbacks coming out in this draft, which would include maybe Julian Sand, Arch Manning, Lenore Sellers. You're talking about maybe C.J. Carr out of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
You're talking about some people that can play football, that can play quarterback, and you're going to miss
Yeah.
out on the draft there. I'm not saying play a football season to get a quarterback, but I mean, are you concerned what happens in 2027?
Yeah. So I think Rodgers retires because he gets injured in game 8. He retires
Okay.
in 2027. So yeah, then that leaves us, a quarterback room. I don't think Mason's playing another snap anymore. I think he's going to get traded prior to preseason. He'll get traded somewhere.
I think he'll
And
just get released. I don't
yeah.
think anybody's trading for him. I
Yeah.
think the people in the NFL know what happened
Mhm.
on that game with Myles Garrett, and I don't think
Mhm.
anybody's trading for him. But go ahead.
Yeah. So that leaves us with Howard and Aller, right? And I don't think Aller's everything that what is this with this like draft, which Aller was in the third round or whatever pick, and Howard was a 6th round pick. Like, how is that have anything to do with the quality of the quarterback? I don't even get it. I think both Aller and Howard are NFL quarterbacks. I think they can both produce and be great in the NFL.
The problem is statistically it doesn't bear that out.
Yeah.
Statistically, most of your starting quarterbacks are picked within the top 10 picks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the starters at quarterbacks are in top 10 picks.
Mm-hmm.
So statistically, somebody like Shador Sanders or Will Howard or Dylan Gabriel or Drew Aller, they're picked in those lower rounds. They generally don't pan out. And I don't know if that's a product of we know that the top 10 picks are where your quarterbacks are at, so we're going to invest more, we're going to do more. Then some of these
Mm-hmm.
later round picks are not invested with as much, and therefore that contributes to their not successfully being successful. I don't know, but statistically, most of your franchise quarterbacks, if not all of your franchise quarterbacks, come within top 10 picks. You could even just
Mm-hmm.
start going through the NFL, right? Just start rolling through team by team
Oh
by
yeah,
team by team.
yeah,
Where was their quarterback picked? And I promise you, almost all of
yeah.
them are top 5 picks.
Except for Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, I mean, there's an outlier, right?
Yeah, six
Right?
rounds. So is Will Howard, right?
Right?
Like, no, I mean, it's
I
it's
mean,
possible
you,
that you
you
can have
can't
a
you
gem,
can't gamble on an outlier. This
right?
is why the Browns aren't just handing the keys to Shador Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gambling on an outlier. He's sitting there in round 5 for a reason. Aller's sitting there in round 3 for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, Aller had some attitude issues and some coachability issues, and he refused to go to the Manning camp. And the Mannings are way down. And it's put the word out on Aller, like this is not a guy you want to deal with, right? So that really hurt him because I mean you'd think the
I
Browns would want to grab a guy high or early from Cleveland who's a Cleveland fan
yeah.
and wants to be a Brown. And he made that very well known he wanted to be a Brown. So you think if Cleveland was in on Aller, they'd have went and got it.
Yeah, I think the Steelers picked Aller just up because he was close to being available, and they I think they sniffed who was going to select
Mm-hmm.
Aller. I think that's the only reason why they picked him. I don't think they did it because they felt like it was a necessary piece of the puzzle. I
Well,
really
I
don't.
mean, think about what you're looking at right now in your quarterback room. You're going to carry probably 3 quarterbacks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you've got Rogers, Aller, Howard, and um, I don't want to say what I'm going to say.
Mason Rudolph.
You got Rudolph. I'm not going to call him what I call him, but
Ah,
you got Mason Rudolph, and you know Rudolph is the out. He's gone unless you're thinking we're gonna really want to be competitive this year, and we're going for it, which could be the case, right? Given that 2027
yeah,
is going to probably be a down year, we're going for it. You
yeah.
may keep Rudolph, and you may end up cutting either Howard or Aller. If you end up cutting one of those two to drop them onto a practice squad, who you cutting? See, and
Mm-hmm.
at that point, you ask yourself, if we just picked up Aller in the 3rd round, we picked up Will Howard in the 5th round, we're probably dropping Will Howard. And I know people really like him,
Mm-hmm.
but he's in the 5th round for a reason.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you
yeah.
may be hanging on to Aller.
Yeah, Will Howard's been squawking this week, all because of that. He's been squawking about you know Aaron Rodgers even coming back, and then what does the quarterback room look like? Howard's mindset is he's going to be an NFL quarterback, and he'd love to be that for Pittsburgh, but he's got his mind set. He doesn't feel
Well,
like he's
in
a
my
he's
opinion, he needs to just shut up and do his job because the more nobody wants a backup quarterback that causes problems on your roster. So if he's going to
yeah
go cause problems, I'm not saying that's what he's doing, but if he's causing problems, he might as well just
yeah.
walk out the door now because they're not going to
Mm-hmm.
put up with that. No team is going to put up with that, which means he won't be on
Mm-hmm.
any roster if that's the way he's going to act. So he
Yeah,
might as well just want to keep his mouth shut and let his play do his talking for him. But honestly, to me, the odd man out is Will Howard.
yeah, yeah.
That's the odd
But
man out, in my opinion. But we'll see what the Steelers do.
I'm thinking that Mike McCarthy likes him, and that's the reason why he's been getting second team reps
Okay,
this week. So Aaron
and
Rodgers has been
that
their
too
first
could
team reps,
mean
second team reps to
very
Howard.
little
Right,
because you don't need Mason Rudolph getting reps. Mason
right,
Rudolph's a professional,
yes,
right?
yep,
Your question marks are Aller and Howard,
mm-hmm,
right? And
right,
you need to see them playing to make a decision on those two. So
mm-hmm,
that just the fact that he's getting second team reps. I mean, you want Aaron Rodgers getting the reps because that's who your guy is, right? But then your backups. I mean, if you're comfortable with Mason Rudolph, there's no reason to give him reps. He's been in
right,
the league for a while. What you
mm-hmm,
need to start looking at is who's on the bubble. Is
yeah,
it Howard or is it Aller? And I tend to think that maybe McCarthy wasn't high on Howard, but thought we can work with Drew Aller. We can turn this guy around. We can get
mm-hmm.
him straightened out.
that's going to be the trick over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, going in this favor though is Aller
Yeah.
was injured, but his big concern is what's between his ears. Can you
Yeah.
get his headspace in the right spot? If you can get his headspace in the right spot, you're going to have the talent there to be a quarterback. Now, is he going to be an elite quarterback? I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, but he could be at least another serviceable Mason Rudolph. And why would you pay Mason Rudolph veteran salary when you can throw
Yeah.
Aller back there on a rookie deal for 3 years?
Yeah. Yeah. They're both on rookie deals. So it's
Yeah.
inexpensive, right? Our QB room is inexpensive, continues to be.
Right.
So,
So, I mean, do you keep Rudolph around because he can win you games or at least go 500 if Aaron Rodgers is dealing with an injury? Or do you want to go with the rookie and say, screw it, we're done with the season? Because it's going to take 6, 8 games for a rookie to get up to speed.
mm-hmm.
And if you don't want to do that because you want to win now, which is what the schedule is signaling, then one of those two, Aller or Howard, is going to be cut because you're not carrying four. So the question, I mean, you might be able to sneak Howard on the practice squad if you like him. I'm not sure you're sneaking Aller on a practice squad if you like him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going to be the big question mark going through this through the OTAs. They're going to get to see how they throw. They're going to get to see which one is conforming more to what Mike McCarthy wants them to do,
Mm-hmm.
right?
The good news
And
is for the Steelers is that Dylan Gabriel might be available.
yeah, honestly, there's going to be a lot of QBs, serviceable QBs available right here in the coming, 4 or 5 weeks.
If you call
There will be.
Dylan Gabriel serviceable, I mean, this was the guy. I don't know if I've told this story. I timed one of his. He threw this touchdown pass that was like an air ball, and it was in the air longer than a punt. I'm just like, this
Yeah.
is insanity. But yeah, he'll be
Yeah.
available.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and the way that, Pittsburgh is such a football city and our fans are so critical of everything that we do, everything that ownership does, everything that coaches do. There was one pass, there was one take that went out all over, went viral on social media. Will Howard stepping back and then throwing a pass, and it took him like 4.5 seconds to do it. And they're like, nope, he's gone. There's one recording of him.
Yeah.
And they had the clock running, right? It's 4.5 seconds. They're like, that ain't going to pass.
Yeah, Myles Garrett will have him down. I mean, Aaron Rodgers set a record for the quickest snap to pass
Right.
in 1.8 seconds against the
Mhm.
Browns last year because he wanted no part of Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
So you're going to stand back here for 4 seconds. Myles Garrett's going to have 50 sacks this season. 25 of them being against Pittsburgh. It'll come to the point where like Pittsburgh will just start running the ball up the middle so they don't have to pass. Which is kind of what they were doing last time when Aaron Rodgers was out there against the Browns. Just run the ball. That's what the Bengals were doing. Just run the ball up the middle and never pass and don't drop back pass or we're going to roll a quarterback away from Myles Garrett.
Mm-hmm.
For the last 2 games of the season, that's all the Browns saw. So,
Yeah.
But Myles Garrett still got his record. But we'll see.
But it was just so funny. There was just one clip, like one play, one clip in the early OTAs, non-mandatory OTAs, right? And so Howard took 3 steps back and, kind of leisurely threw it out there. He completed the pass, but nobody talked about that, right? It was the timing, how long it took him to do it. It's like, oh boy.
In an actual game, that is not going to be a completed pass.
No, well, in an actual game, it's not going to be 4.5 seconds either, right?
Yeah, he's going to be on his back. Yeah.
Will Howard, as a coach, we know that right now what they're trying to do is get their footwork, right? They're trying to figure out what their footwork's going to be in the stepping back process. And so, yes, everything's going to be, you're going to, kind of double up on all of the intent, and you're going to take more time to go and do it to get it right, right? Because, in the game, it's going to be 5 times faster, right? It's not going to be 4.5 seconds.
Yeah.
You can't do that in 4.5 seconds, right? So,
I mean, Browns reporters will sit there and start clocking. I saw one yesterday where Tony Grossi's out here during OTAs. Deshaun Watson threw 16 passes, completed 10 of them, and threw no interceptions. And Dylan Gabriel, and I'm like, why? Who cares? Who cares?
Dylan Gabriel smoked him.
Well, Dylan Gabriel apparently threw 3 interceptions. I mean, Dylan Gabriel is not an NFL quarterback. I mean, he's not. He's not. He'll get cut by the Browns and nobody will pick him up.
It's
Unless
just,
Atlanta
yeah.
picks him up because Kevin Stefanski likes him.
It's just so funny that there's so much energy in the fan base that they're so willing to go in and super hyper focus on all these little tiny things, in OTAs, like Monday morning quarterbacking, right? That's literally what you're doing. You're looking at, what's going on the practice field and expecting that's what you're going to see, on Sunday at 1:00 in Cleveland, or on Sunday prime time in Ackerson. So.
And do you know what happens in OTAs? I mean, like, this is the thing. They're not even practices in OTAs.
Right.
They're literally learning the drills. Like,
Yes.
this is where they go over pregame. This is where they go over postgame. This is how we stretch out. This is when we go here, we do this. When we go here, we do that. When we go here, we do, like, that's what OTAs are.
Yeah.
It's how we're going to organize our practice and how we're doing our practices.
Mm-hmm.
That's why teams with new coaches get extra weeks of OTAs, because they're trying to establish a routine during the practice sessions. The practice itself is not so much important as much as this is the routine we're learning. So by the time you hit the season, it's bam, 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 right? It's second nature. So why somebody's even watching OTAs is insane. It's insane, and they're definitely not being competitive. It's more of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Take 3 steps back, first hitch here, second hitch here, third hitch here, throw the ball.
Yeah, exactly. OTAs, as coaches, we know this, but like as fans, like the entire fandom is just going crazy over one clip, and it's ridiculous because
OTAs, OTAs, like for OTAs, by the way, it means organized team activities. They're not even considered practices.
No.
It's literally you're out there telling somebody, when we blow the whistle this second time, we're going to run to this station and work on this drill. And they're teaching them how to do the drill.
Yeah. OTAs, like our OTAs are at St. Vincent's College out in like Norvelt or whatever in Pennsylvania, right? And so like it's just at a little small college. All of the Pittsburgh locals and stuff come down to get autographs and stuff like that. Get your picture taken with your favorite Steeler, that kind of stuff. That's what OTAs are for. So if you're a fan, that's what you need to do. Go to St. Vincent's, get your picture taken, get a lot of great autographs, but don't be looking at on the field and expecting to say, hey, this is what's going to happen week 1, right? We're not, it's not happening that way.
And any practice where you could watch the practice and say, this is what's going to happen week 1 is not going to be open to fans. And the media is not going to be there either. So there is nobody that can tell you on the basis of what they've seen in OTAs, mini camp, and actual camp that's going to tell you what's going to happen week 1.
Right.
It's not going to happen in front of a crowd. And I say that because I used to actually, when I was right out of college, I was teaching at a college that I had gone to, and they had the Chicago Bears training there. So that's where the Bears train.
Yeah.
And I was working security just for fun. And we knew if we're out there, watching security, watching the crowd, we knew they're not doing anything back there that means anything. And I've watched plenty of OTAs. I've watched like in person live watching OTs. I know for a fact that what I'm telling you is the truth. Okay. I've experienced it in real life, but you get there and there are days they're like, we're going to have practice, but you don't need to go out there. And you know what that means? That means they're actually doing real work. And if the security is not there, that means nobody else is there, and nobody's out there like watching that can make any kind of determination what's happening. There's no reporters. I mean, honestly, security is mainly there for reporters to not be jerks, but that's what we were told. You got to watch it. I mean, complete aside, okay? When I was working, I was doing the Bears, right? I was working for the Bears, and we were doing the OTAs because that was the local team, right? And I was doing the security. They're doing their camps, and they're doing all this stuff. We were literally shown pictures. This is before like iPads and stuff. We were drunk into a room. This is this guy. He works for this newspaper. These are the things that he does on the sidelines. These are the things you need to watch for, and these are the things we want you to like stop. Right? And we had probably 10 people like this. We had basic profiles on.
Yeah.
So I knew. So as soon as like I saw one of doing something, like I walked over, hey, Mr. So and So, we need you to put your camera away.
Yeah.
You guys are doing that again. Like, look, if you have a complaint, feel free to call the general manager. Blah blah blah. And he's like,
Yeah.
okay, I guess they're more organized this year. Okay, like whatever, just go away. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. So OTAs happen at St. Vincent's in the open where, yeah, you can take as many pictures as you want. You can film everything that's going on. The real stuff happens in the Rooney Complex, which is
Mm-hmm.
right in downtown Pittsburgh, right? And
Yeah.
it's an it's domed, so you can't like fly a helicopter over and film anything like it. And there's high security around it because that's where we actually do the practicing, right? That's where all the plays and the schemes all get written up on boards and the guys go out and execute. That's we do it in the
Now,
Rudy complex.
I will say this: if you're a Bengals fan, you can walk down there and watch Bengals practices. Just they practice in an open field beside the stadium. You can
Mm-hmm.
walk down there, walk up by the metal grate, zoom your camera in, watch their practices.
Their practices, not their
Their
opening.
actual practices, because it's basically open aired. There's no barrier. Yeah,
Why?
you've been to Cincinnati, right? So if you
Yeah.
park west of the stadium, you will walk by their practice field. Their practice field, you can walk down the street and just watch their practice
Mm. Why do they do that?
because they're cheap. I remember Joe Flacco last year signed with the Bengals, right?
Mm.
And they're showing Joe Flacco literally crossing a street. And as he's crossing the street, a car pulls in behind him and drives on. Like he's walking in the middle of the city. Like it's not in the middle of the city, but it is a street. You have to literally cross a street that cars drive on to get
Yeah.
to the Bengals practice field.
Mm-hmm.
Who does that? Their
Yeah.
locker room is in the stadium.
You can strike any Bengals player you want.
Just take your car down there, wait for Joe Flacco to walk. Bam, there
Right.
it is. You win the game next week. I mean, like, this is why Bengals players have consistently rated the Bengals as the worst team for facilities and player
Yeah.
treatment and things like that. This is why the NFL tried to ban those reports from coming out, and the Players Association sent them out anyway.
Mm. Well, the Players Association should send it out.
Exactly, they
That's
should.
ridiculous.
Mhm.
Well, and so that's crazy that you could just go in with the telephoto lens and, sit over there in Kentucky and literally film their entire practice.
You could probably just throw a drone over top of it. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
there's somebody somewhere like
Oh my God.
trying to monitor this stuff, but it is open aired on a public road.
Wow. Wow. That is crazy. Because they've got sports facilities in Cincinnati.
They have a stadium,
Yeah.
and they have 3 practice fields to the west of the stadium that are open aired. Like they practice outside in the snow, even when you don't have to. Like
Yeah. I
a
get that.
team would have a bubble.
Yeah.
Like even Ohio State has a bubble, right? Those big
Yeah.
white buildings,
Mm.
the bubbles, right? Ohio State has a bubble. Cincinnati doesn't
Yeah.
have a bubble. So let's say Cincinnati's going to go, and this may happen to them. Let's say that at the end of the season, and we'll check. All right, Cincinnati. Let's say they're going to go to Carolina Week 15 on Sunday, December 20th. Okay? In preparation for a warm weather game, they will be outside in the stadium, in the snow, in the 20, 30-degree weather,
Yeah.
wind blaring, throwing a football around. They're going to fly to Carolina and have 60 to 70-degree weather, nice, beautiful day, and none of the conditions they practiced in will translate to what they're about to take on in Carolina.
That ain't right. That's not right. That's crazy. Like
That's reality, is what it is.
Yeah, but even high schools in Cincinnati have bubbles. Like
Yep.
Mason has a bubble, right?
Yep.
There's I'm sure a lot of the other colleges and stuff have bubbles as well.
Yeah.
Why can't they just go practice there?
If you play on Xbox, if you get on
Yeah.
NCAA on Xbox, right, and you
Uh-huh.
go into practice mode,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you practice inside a bubble.
Yeah.
In case the people don't even know what a bubble is, it's a big
Mhm.
white kind of like artificial building. They can take it down, but inside it's got all the practice facilities and all this stuff. It's there to
Mhm.
basically protect against the weather. But if you play a video game
Mhm.
about college football, you practice in a bubble, and the Bengals don't have one. Now, I think they're supposed to be building one or getting one, but this is the level of
They're
like,
so cheap.
this is the level of where they're at. Like, and their owners are just like, yeah, he should be happy with what he makes, and we're not going to pay him market value. Yeah, and then you wonder why he leaves. Like, why would anybody come here? Like,
Right.
I,
Oh my
I
goodness.
wish I was lying, but the stuff that goes on in Cincinnati is incredible, and it totally makes sense why they would get this schedule that just screws them over. Like, they don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't. And Mike Brown was the one guy who was spearheading the idea that, like, if a player gets injured in while playing a game in Ohio for an Ohio team, that they shouldn't be subject to the Ohio work injury laws or like the unemployment laws if you cut them. Was spearheading that procedure, that whole thing.
Wow. Okay. Gosh. Well, I'm glad we ended this with just absolutely slaughtering the Bengals practice schedule process.
They do stuff, man. You just wonder how they're a competitive football team. If it wasn't for Joe Burrow, they wouldn't be a competitive football
Yeah.
team.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up there, Joel, because I think we covered everything for the Browns. We covered everything for the Steelers. And the AFC North is going to have a super competitive schedule just in general, because as my prognostication comes, everybody's going to be 500 this year.
I think, I want my opinion. I think the
Yep.
Ravens will lock up this division by week 15, just
Okay.
because they play cupcakes up until
Okay.
week 15.
Nice.
It's like they play nothing but cupcakes coming up into week 15. It's ridiculous. Just for clarity, the
Yeah.
Colts, the Saints, the Cowboys, that might be a different one. Titans, Falcons, Browns, Bengals. Then they get Buffalo week 8, so there's their first real, like, can they really do this? Jacksonville, I think they'll take care of Jacksonville. The Chargers, Panthers, Texans, bye week, Buccaneers. Then, after they play the
Then,
entire AFC South and the NFC South, then they get their division schedule and they end with Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh.
it's true. They could lock it by that time. They
And
really
the teams
could.
that
Yeah.
know the trick of the Ravens is, if a team has not played the Ravens regularly or don't know the Ravens, they have a hard time adapting to their offense because it's so different.
Yeah.
If you play a bunch of teams that haven't seen you but once every 4 years, you have an advantage. The teams that have an advantage over them, they're playing the last 5 weeks of the season.
Right.
They'll wrap it up before that
Oh, yeah.
situation happens.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to own them both times. I think we're sweeping the Ravens this year.
I'm just not sure it matters. I'm not sure it's going to make a difference.
No, that's true. True. Yeah. They could still be AFC North champions
They could lose their last 5 games of the season and still win.
and lose. Yes. Yep. How crazy is that?
That's the NFL, man.
All right, guys. We're going to wrap it up today. Thanks, Joel. It's been great.
Thanks for having me on.
That's right. This is Mike McDermott with Hash Marks and Working Tools. We'll see you.